Hello! Welcome back to Baking from Books, our series where I, your friendly neighborhood reference librarian, make desserts inspired by beloved books of various kinds. This time around, since winter is coming, we are making recipes based on thriller or mystery books to give you a bit of winter chills. This first time around, we're making something inspired by Murder on the Orient Express. Very famous book, you've probably heard of it, by the famous Agatha Christie. If you have read my blog posts for the library, you know I'm a rabid Agatha Christie fan. And so this is one of my favorite winter chills books. There's this sense of being snowed in on a train, someone has died, and we have to figure out who before the train moves and the murderer escapes. Now, to make a recipe based on this book was a little tricky, but I looked it up, and Agatha Christie's favorite food was reportedly cream, like heavy cream, like she would just drink cream. I think that's a little weird, but hey, to each their own. So we're trying to make crème brûlée, and I was very intimidated by this recipe, but it was easier than I thought, and you'll see if I can do it, you can do it. And probably you'll do it better. Crème brûlée recipe I found was surprisingly easy. As you'll see, first thing you would do is preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not going to do that, but just pretend. And then you'd boil some water, again, pretend, magic. And then the next thing you do is you separate out the egg yolks and you mix it with sugar. Now, because of how many ramekins I have, read, little thing like this, Pyrex would work, I do not have enough ramekins to do the whole recipe, so I'm halving it, so I'm sort of improvising my measurements, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. So I'm going to use 3 egg yolks and mix it with whatever half of a third of a cup is. I'll eyeball it a little bit. This is not at all how you're supposed to get an egg yolk out, so again, don't do it like this. This one we'll try and do it the right way. 2 halves. Nope, still didn't do it. Ugh, oh well. Avert your eyes from this absolutely chaos method. Okay, that's pretty close. Yolk number 2. 3rd time's the charm, maybe? Yep, there we go. Okay, this is how you're supposed to do it. Separate out the yolk from the white. And we'll put that in there. And we don't need the whites, which feels wasteful to me, but whatever. These people know what they're doing when they make these recipes, supposedly. So then you take granulated sugar. This is my 1/3 of a cup measure. I'm filling it halfway, because I don't know what a half of a 1/3 of a cup is. And that looks pretty close. That's good. And then we're whisking this together until it starts to lighten in color, just a little bit. Alright, we've got that combined and it's starting to lighten, not that you can see that probably. Next, you take a saucepan like this and you add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. 1 cup because I'm halving the recipe. If you're doing the whole thing, it'll be 2 cups. That's the wrong cup measure, but it'll work just as well. Perfect. Just like that, and then we'll slosh for good measure. You'd put your saucepan on the stove and warm it over medium heat until it's bubbling a little bit around the edges, not at a full boil. I had to fake this a little bit because I can't find my hot plate now, but just pretend that we did this on the stove and the cream is now warm. Now you're going to whisk it into the egg yolks and sugar, slowly and carefully, doing it about a half cup at a time. So we're going to whisk well while we're doing this. Alright, so we've got that all mixed together. And And I forgot to add the vanilla extract, so we're going to add that in now and then mix it a little bit more. It would be 1.5 teaspoons, so again, we're faking it a little bit. I'm going to do that much vanilla extract, and we'll mix that in too. So that's all mixed together, and you can skim off that foamy stuff if you want to. I don't really want to. And so then you're already at the point where you're putting it into your ramekins, and again, as far as I can tell, a ramekin is just a little thing like this. I used something else, which you'll see in a minute, and you're dividing it between your ramekins. In the original recipe, it's 4. I'm going to do 2, and it says to strain it through. I don't know why. If you know why, or if you have other tips for making creme brulee, please drop it in the comments. I would love to know. All right, that's pretty close. Looks pretty even, I think. And so that is pretty groovy. And then this is the part where you would bake this. This is a custard. You would bake it in the oven. And what you do is you take a baking dish like this. It says a smaller one, but I thought this was easier. Up to you, I guess. The size of my ramekins meant I needed this one. And you put your ramekins in here, and you fill it about halfway up with boiling water, which is why you were boiling water earlier. And then you stick this into a 325-degree oven and bake it for 35 to 45 minutes until the edges are set and it's still jiggling a little bit in the middle. So you bake that, and then you let it sit and cool, and then you chill it at least 4 hours to overnight. And then I did it overnight, and then in the morning you do the next step, which is what everybody thinks of when they think of creme brulee, the very exciting part. Now this one got a little smushed in transit, so you'll have to use your imagination a little bit. But after it's chilled, it looks something like this, assuming I did it right. And you blot the top to remove excess moisture, whatever the heck that means. And so I'm just like dabbing it and hoping that's the same thing, to remove any excess moisture from it, like so. Right, and then you sprinkle sugar on the top to get an even layer. Now they have a specific amount. I didn't really feel like it was enough. Maybe I'm just a sugar fiend, so I'm gonna eyeball it a little bit to make an even layer on top of here. Oh, that's way too much. Okay, so don't do that. What I just did. Yeah, not like that. Somewhere between what the recipe says and what I just did is the correct amount. So this might not be a great idea, but we're going to be very safe and very careful with the next step. Next step, obviously, is caramelizing the sugar to get it all crispy, crunchy on top. Now you can do it with a broiler on your oven. Since I don't have an oven here, I'm going to try it the original way with a small kitchen torch. Now use absolutely safety precautions with these. I feel like I need to be supervised. Should have brought someone in here to supervise me, but I didn't. So we're just going to be really careful and very carefully caramelize the top of the sugar. Did I look up how you know it's fully caramelized before I did this? No, but it's fine. It's probably fine. Just hold it on there. It starts to bubble and get brown. Looking a caramel color. That's pretty close. Okay, I'm bored and it's smoking, so I'm going to stop. And so we're going to pretend that that's caramelized properly. If you know how to caramelize, please absolutely drop in the comments, tell me how to do it, because this was a fascinating process and I would love to get better at it. And then you have to let it harden for 1 to 2 minutes, and then you can either eat it immediately or you can refrigerate it for a little bit. My only caveat is that when I refrigerated it again got a layer of liquid on top, which I think is gross, so do that at your own risk. And that's it. It's amazing how fast and easy that was, and when I did it at home, I was a little bit bolder about letting it smoke and frighten me, so I got a little bit more of a caramelization on it than this, and it's actually surprisingly tasty, and so I can only conclude I did it about right. I got to feel really fancy doing it, so again, if I can do it, you can do it. If you try it yourself, definitely share your results with us. We want to know how it went for you, and if you like this recipe, how you would do it differently. Any improvements and tips you have for me, I always take them. Next time around, we are doing a more recent thriller, No Exit by Taylor Adams, and I am taking on something very ambitious in the form of a gingerbread truck stop. I'm trying to base it on the I-80 truck stop, very famous landmark around here. So come back next time to probably laugh at me while I attempt and fail to make the I-80 truck stop in gingerbread. For now, happy reading, happy baking.